Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I am your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwen O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here.
So nice to have you once more.
Thank you.
So in this episode, we're going to be talking about the aspects of moiety.
Moiety.
Now, that is a French word, and I do apologize ahead of time if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, because it may be moiety or something like that, but I've always called it moiety, and there we go.
That's what we're going to say.
That's what we're going to call it there through the whole episode, yeah. So let's just go back to the beginning. So aspects, in general, aspects of longitude are the actual angular distances between two planets. So if they're together, then you've got a conjunction, you've got the opposition, squares, trines, and those are general aspects that we use.
Yeah.
And we have standard orbs that we use, or that one would use.
And the orb is how many degrees off of exact
Yes.
the angle is. So if it's a conjunction, that means that they're occupying the same point in the sky, but we allow about like an 8-point orb, which
Right.
means if it's 8
Right.
degrees away from each other, then we still consider it conjunct.
Correct. So each aspect has its own orb,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And my orbs, the Starzology orbs, are standard. Well, for us, we do 8 degrees on the main things and 4 degrees on the sextile. But as astrologers, some people will do a 7, some will do a 10, some will say it's a wide, some will say it's a short. And once you start doing your own astrology practice, you're going to do the orbs you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our set of standard orbs, which is maybe mine is slightly different to yours as well. But anyway, those orbs pertain to the aspect itself.
Yeah.
Whereas aspects of moiety are different because they pertain to the planet.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. So this is what we're going to be talking about a little bit now. So just moiety in general is a French word. Apparently it means medium.
Okay.
From the Latin meditas, meaning medium measure, mean value, or half. Okay.
Yeah.
So in traditional astrology, moiety defines the half measures of a planet's orb.
Okay.
All right. And the dimension of the orb, as I say, pertains to the planet, not the aspect. So this is slightly different. And the moiety itself is say you've got the sun at 10 degrees Cancer, and we would have an 8-degree orb normally. So anything between 2 degrees Cancer and 18 degrees Cancer would be a conjunction to the sun.
Yeah.
So the 8 degrees goes on either side of the sun's position.
Right.
So it's not exactly in the middle. So, and technically that's the middle, even though that's the orb. And so with moiety, what they do is they say that, well, depending on how big the planet is, it actually has its full orb. And then we take the half measure, which is technically the radius of that, which is similar to the 8-degree orb. So stick with me.
Okay, when you say how big, do you mean how big or how
big? How massive?
Like
size
Saturn.
does matter.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
I like that.
Okay. So this is new to you then?
This is super new to me. And this is funny that we actually discussed this for a second right before the podcast because, sometimes you'll spring a topic on me and I'll be like, I don't know what that is, but that's okay. I'll post up anyway and I'll learn something. And I feel like in that sense, I'm kind of the audience proxy. Unless we're dealing with obviously like the very advanced astrologers who will be like, oh, moiety, yawn, didn't do that for years. Most, I would think, of our audience is like, what is that? And so I feel like I'm standing in for the audience going, what is
fantastic.
that?
We don't just say you're a guinea pig at all, do you? But if you...
I'm a new lamb. A new lamb. Yeah. And funnily enough, I actually did, the only thing I did in preparation for this episode, to be totally honest, is I looked up the word moiety.
Right.
And there are a few different legal chemistry and anthropological meanings of it. And they all have to do with being a half of a component, half or a share of a component or of a whole. So in law, it's used to describe a partial interest in a property or an estate or a piece of land or whatever, where the tenants, whether it's, exactly half because there's 2 of them or where, it's more than 2 people and they all have an equal share. So that would be like a moiety. In chemistry, there's something to do with molecules, and active moiety is like a medicinal thing that has to do with the portion of a drug or a molecule that actually delivers the physiological or therapeutic effect. So this is a word that exists in a bunch of different
genres.
The
half-life of uranium as well.
Half-life,
yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Super
so
interesting.
I know. So I've got a few more just clarities, and there's more information if you click through to the blog post about what we're talking today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got here a little chunk which I've titled "More Clarity for the Virgos."
Oh,
okay.
Please. Let's do it.
So yeah. So there are many words that are very similar and are used interchangeably with moiety. So average, or the mean, that is actually uses all the values. It's all added together and divided by the number. So that is an average or a mean.
Yep.
Now, a median is actually the middle position.
Yeah.
So if you've got 3 points, the middle position, regardless of what it is, will be the median.
Right.
And then the midpoint is actually the middle position between a calculated point.
Yeah.
And then moiety is different because it actually belongs to the planet. So it's not a measurement between 2 points. It's a measurement of 1 point's size against another point's size.
Interesting.
So even though we say, the average, the mean, because this is how we speak, I have got some definitions there because there is a subtle difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're a mathematician, which we're not, then you would probably know that already. But anyway, so the idea is that the moiety is the half measure of the planet by its size. So the sun being the biggest, we'll just talk about that first. So the sun's has a traditional orb of 30 degrees, and that's its influence, you see. And then, so its moiety is 15 degrees.
Okay.
So that's way wider than the 8-degree orb that we were talking about a moment ago.
Definitely.
And that is because as the sun comes by, it influences to that position.
Yeah.
It doesn't just influence in the small place it's in.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like somebody's aura.
Yeah.
So if you've got an aura, and in general, an aura is 4 inches around your body or 10 centimeters sticking out.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
But if you stand too close to people, like if you're in an elevation, you've got to stand it, and it's so difficult because you're standing in that aura.
Totally.
And they're just strangers. So the idea is that the larger the planet, it's like having a larger aura. And some people do have larger auras than others. It's true.
And some people have, I'm thinking of certain famous people where when
presence.
they walk into, they have a presence. And of course, you're probably more prone to wanting to be famous if you have a large aura. I'm thinking of, unless you kind of are born into a famous family and you're like a child star or whatever. Yeah. But if you're the person who's like the class clown or the most popular kid in school, and you want to perform, you want to always be like the one who's noticed and stuff like that. And then those are the people who generally will go and become actors or musicians, and they want to be on stage. They want to be seen. And I would think that is like a person with a larger aura.
This is it.
Or a CEO even. They're the politicians of a company.
Yeah. And when you get ill, your aura diminishes because it's protecting you back down. Yeah. And of course, then the other theory is that if you are pregnant, your aura doubles in size because you've now got 2 presences there.
Oh, interesting.
So 1 million years ago, when we lived in Cape Town, there was a woman who was a psychic, and she was an aura reader. And I would go and see her every 6 months and so. Oh. And I remember the one day she said to me, your aura's dragging behind you. Oh.
That's not what you want to hear.
That's not what you want to hear. Exactly. And what she said to me was, go home and bath in salt and freshen it off. And I said, this is why I'm here. I'm just so depressed and dragged down, and the world is
So when she said that, you were like, yes, that makes sense. That was not a surprise to you. You weren't like, what? Why?
I know, but I didn't. That's what she said to me. She said, you're always dragging behind you. So, and it was not a case of just some nice, delicate bath salts. It was regular table salt. A cup in the bath,
scrub that stuff.
and just let it go down the drain. Wow. Let it be sloughed off, is it? Or sloughed off and go down the drain. And I did that for quite a while, and it actually did feel better. Yeah. I don't see auras myself, but we know that some cameras can pick them up. Is it Kylie and photography can pick it up as well?
Oh, I remember that. Back in the 80s. Yeah.
Yes, you take a leaf and you cut half a leaf off. The aura remains because the presence is still there.
It's like a phantom limb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is an absolutely real phenomenon.
Yeah.
V.S. Ramachandran has talked about how the brain is actually, your brain maps out. And that's why people, when they get into car accidents or when they're skiers and they become one with the extension of their body.
Right.
whatever that is, if it's a vehicle or if it's
The road rage.
Yeah, exactly. Because you feel like someone's actually touched you. You know, it's not. Yeah.
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 So this is similar to what we're talking about here, that the actual presence that the planet takes up due to its size and in importance, which it is, the sun is the most important.
Absolutely.
So at 15 degrees, this is its moiety orb.
Love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I've come across, we've got these four measurements of the middle bit, let's face it. So I've just got a thought here that the average calculation asks, what's the combined value? They're added together. The median asks, what is the middle value in a group? Midpoint asks, what's the halfway point between points? But moiety asks, how far does this planet's influence extend?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is it. So when the sun rises in the morning, before it's breached the horizon up the ascendant, we see the sunbeams. There's no one's saying, oh, the sun's not going to rise. And then there it is.
Yeah.
Whereas other planets, not so much.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Yeah. Yeah. So I do have a table for the planetary moiety degrees, and I wrote it out as well, so you can follow along if you like. And so let's just get to it. So the moiety radius for the sun before and after is 15 degrees. For the moon, it's 12 degrees, because the moon is the second biggest thing in the sky, as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, from Earth,
Yeah. Then we have Saturn and Jupiter both at 9 degrees, because they're the big hefty ones.
Okay.
Mars is then at 8 degrees. Venus at 7 and Mercury at 7 as well, because they're pretty small. Now, normally the outers are not necessarily used for moiety. They're just so far away. Yeah, exactly. They're not visible. Yeah. So what I'm saying here is that size does matter. The bigger the planet, the larger its actual moiety, and the smaller the planet, the smaller the moiety. So you can see that each of the planets has a different moiety value.
Okay.
And if we look at it soon, we just said that in general, a conjunction is 8 degrees. But if Venus and Mercury's moiety is 7, then not all conjunctions count, you see.
So do we consider moiety when we're only talking about conjunctions, or is it with every aspect?
Yes. Okay. It's just easier to talk about it when it's conjunctions to get your head around these things, right? Yeah. So I've got this handy dandy diagram on the blog post, and I'm taking the two planets. I've got the sun with an orb of 15 degrees, and I have Mercury with its moiety orb of 7 degrees. And this diagram, sorry, I know it's a podcast, but you do need to click through to look at the image. And the idea is that Mercury with its orb of 7, in this position, the sun sees Mercury, but Mercury does not see the sun. So this makes them one-sided aspects, and this is the point, that the larger planets with the bigger moiety, such as the sun, is in conjunction with Mercury, but in this case, Mercury is not in a conjunction with the sun.
Okay.
Are we getting our head around that one?
Maybe. I'm just going to cling to my little bit of understanding and write it out until I hear an example that makes it click.
Yes. Yeah. So the idea being that if Mercury is, say, 10 degrees away from the sun, it's not in orb. Mercury's not in orb with the sun, but the sun is in orb. So it's a one-sided aspect. So the energy is going from the sun to Mercury, from the larger planet always to the smaller planet.
Okay. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah.
Now, had Mercury been within 2 degrees, it would see. If we move this green circle over, it would then see it.
Oh, yeah. That's a conjunction no matter what. I mean, any system. Although some people consider that combust, don't they? Something is within 2 degrees of the sun.
Well, there is a technicality there. Yeah, it's got to be under. Yeah, it's 17 minutes to be.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay.
But the point being that this is your broadest example, because the sun's got the biggest moiety at 15, and Mercury and Venus have got the smallest moiety at 7. So you do get this with the inferior planets, Mercury and Venus. And I was looking at your chart, Arwen, before we even started. And if we just consider your chart, we're looking at I only have time to look at a couple of things. If we look at the sun-moon position in your chart, you've got the sun at 5 degrees, Virgo. Moon is at 14, and technically they're not in a conjunction because they're too wide for an 8 degree. However, they're 9 degrees apart. So therefore, through moiety, because the sun is at 15 and the moon is at 12, they actually have this moiety conjunction.
So my chart's actually just low-key like the perfect example of how this can be used.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
And in this case, the sun sees the moon and the moon sees the sun because it's close enough.
Yeah.
Because it's under the 9 and the moon's moiety is 12. Had it been 14 degrees away,
Yeah.
only the sun would be conjoined the moon.
Yeah.
And the moon would, so the energy would be going that way within that conjunction.
That's hilarious.
So what this really means, you really see it between the sun and Mercury and Venus, but you can check all the other planets if you have time.
Mhm.
And when I was a student, we did all of this.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you are looking for planets that are not in conjunction by standard longitudinal aspect, but that are in conjunctions through moiety. And this is one example in your chart. I mean, sometimes I've heard you say, well, I've got a wide conjunction with the sun and the moon. And I say, well, define wide,
Right.
because yeah.
Well, actually, and I know I've talked about this application. I used to use Janus, and I used it when it was Janus 3.0. And this is before I was a Mac user, and it's only available for Windows. And it's a wonderful application.
Yeah.
If you are using Windows, I highly recommend. I think they're up to like either 4 or 5, whatever. I used Janus.
So it's Janus, Janus?
Correct.
Okay.
Like the god, like the
yeah.
two-faced god. And it is wonderful because I think you can probably do this with a lot of different astrology programs. But my favorite thing about it was that every little aspect between every little planet, you could go in and tinker with the.
Yes.
You could actually tinker with the words that would come back, the descriptions, interpretations. You can write your own if you wanted to, but you could edit all that stuff, and you could also tinker with the orbs between every single planet and every single aspect per type of chart. So if you thought, well, for some reason I think the biquintile is super important in a progressed comparison chart, you could tinker with that. And I actually got like super, anal about like some
Tinkering.
differences. Yeah. But most of those, the minor aspects I kept to like one, orb. But yeah, like you could change, I think the sun, the moon, and the ascendant. I think I would widen those for conjunctions to 10.
Right.
Just personally, that made sense to me.
Right.
And then for like oppositions for those 3, I would make them 8, and you could tinker that much. So,
but again, the orb is to the aspect.
Yeah, exactly, for each aspect. And then for squares, it was like maybe 5, unless it's like blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But this intuitively makes sense to me because certain planets do
they're
carry
just bigger, aren't they?
more weight.
Yes.
A Jupiter or exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
And I just had a quick look at my chart too, because I have a similar situation. So I've got Mercury is at 8 Leo and the Sun is at 17. So that distance is 9. So this now makes, which is not a standard conjunction, but this now makes it that this is our example that the Sun is conjoined Mercury, but Mercury is not conjoined the Sun. That is a classic example because Mercury's orb is 7 and the distance is 9. So Mercury in its sphere cannot see the Sun, but the Sun at 15 can see Mercury.
Right.
So that, and I mean, I only looked at this one and I looked at your one because we wanted some examples to talk about. And of course, if this is not making sense, go back and re-listen again or read the blog post. But the point being that in this situation where the Sun is conjoined Mercury, I'm happy to see that because I live this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mercury is not necessarily, Mercury is not conjoined the Sun and is not, even with moiety, it is not conjoined the Sun. So I have this one-way aspect where the Sun is conjoined Mercury. End of story. If you are a returning listener and enjoying the Starzology podcast, supporting the show is always appreciated. It helps us continue producing episodes and covers the costs involved in keeping the podcast online. There's a link in the show notes.
And they're both in Leo. So for you, I mean, you are such a Leo. So quintessentially Leo. That's, it just makes sense. And I love that this kind of comes along and says, oh, hey, that thing that you thought was intuitively true this whole time that you've, been like, well, it's not really exact. instincts. It is.
Yeah. Because even though, they're both in the same sign, both in the same house, they're not conjoined technically.
Yeah.
So if you were doing an astrology exam, they would not be conjoined. However, with moiety, it's the one way. So I urge everybody that once you get your head around this and you realize the combinations, you need to go to all of your aspects and decide whether or not you have a moiety aspect between planets that are not listed in your aspectarian, because the orb now is 15 for the sun, you see, and 12 for the moon.
That's so interesting.
So, yeah. And the idea is that this is one way this is advanced natal astrology, but you need to know about it. You absolutely need to know about it. And the idea is that if you've got planets that have moiety aspects, when you're dealing with your clients, you need to discuss it, because they have enough proximity to be influential. And these orbs are we just decide them anyway. We decide what the orbs are anyway. So that's one thing. So what do you think about that?
I love this. This is really cool. I do have one question, and that is, would you apply moiety to then all the aspects, or only the Ptolemaic or major aspects? Like, would you apply like a 7 degree orb to a Venus biquintile, for example?
Well, technically you can. That's what moiety is about.
Right.
But who has time?
Right. Yeah. Would you, so what would be the ameliorating or the kind of like
the cutoff?
No, I mean, the factors that so you say, well, who has time? But like, if your Venus is a very strong planet in your chart, for example, if Venus is your most elevated, or if it's you
chart ruler.
Yeah. Chart ruler. Or if it's like the dispositor tree, Venus is if Venus is your girl.
Yes.
Then you're going to apply the moiety to any aspects Venus makes, whether they're minor or major.
Correct.
And if Mars is like, maybe it's in detriment, maybe you've got Mars in Virgo, for example, maybe you're going to be like, I'm not going to apply the 8 degree orb to everything, because Mars is not super strong anyway. Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
This is it. So the idea is that with Venus, with Venus and Mercury, because their moiety is 7, it's less than the regular conjunction anyway. So they will not be planets reaching out to others, but the other planets. And you want to start with the sun at 15 and say, is it doing a square? Is it doing an opposition? Let's have a look. Let's have a closer look at this, because the sun is hugely important in any chart. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would, if you're going to start working with moiety, I'd start with the sun, get all those calculations, and find out, does the sun make a conjunction? And in my chart, it makes a conjunction. I didn't look at the oppositions, trines, and squares, because not here. Back in the day when I was studying, we had to do it. But the point is that you've got to keep these on your back burner to bear that in mind, right?
I would say another interesting aspect, or another interesting application of this, is something where if you have an unaspected planet, like my moon is technically unaspected. If you follow the strict orbs that we do, my moon is unaspected, which is kind of a weird one for me. I mean, I don't have any children, so
you're not a mother.
There's that. I'm not a mother, but especially the older I get, as we've talked about this in the past, I have a lot of friends for whom I have motherly feelings,
right?
Or nurturing feelings rather, and they're probably technically young enough to be my children, which is like horrifying, but whatever.
Yes.
But so this is another way that I could then go, okay, well, moon 12 degree orb, maybe I've got some moon aspects.
Well, you've got the sun one, the sun conjunct moon to start with, which is ba-bam.
I mean, definitely.
And, there are other aspects you would have to look at. You clearly got something there to Chiron. You'd have to just dig through, because
for sure,
and find these aspects. But at the same time, it's another way of looking at the chart. It's not just you do this, you do this, you do this.
Yeah.
Now, when you start to learn astrology and you're learning signs, planets, houses, and aspects,
right,
you've got to have some guidelines. It's like when you're driving the car, stay on the road, stay under the speed limit.
Hands at 10 to 2.
Yeah. And by the time you get your driver's license, you're speeding, you're cutting corners, you're parking in no parking bays, because that's your decision too. But when you're learning, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
And if you're still learning astrology, stay on the highways.
Yeah.
But bear in mind that there is more to this, and do not think that you know it all. Explore these things.
Totally.
Write the book on it. We are waiting to hear from you.
Yeah.
This is what I've always said about astrology. There's so much more that can be dug into and explored and considered. And So So having said all about that, about moiety, we then go on to a second moiety technique, which is now called the moiety technique. And this was by a French astrologer called Claude Darieux.
Okay.
And he has a different approach. So his theory is that the two planets, orbs, were added together and then halved to find the mean measure, and which both were then in aspected contact within each other. So in the moiety technique, moiety refers to the mean value between the two planetary orbs added together, then halved to find the distance between the two.
Okay.
All right. So I do have an example there of the moon and Saturn. So the moon's moiety is 12 and Saturn is 9.
Okay.
So if you add the two together, we get 21.
Yeah.
We then divide that by 2 in the moiety technique, and the answer is 10 degrees, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So if the moon and Saturn are 10 degrees, 30 minutes to a conjunction, then they are in conjunction through the moiety technique. Whereas in the regular moiety, it wouldn't be a conjunction for Saturn because Saturn's only 9.
Got it. Okay.
So this is another way, but it's specifically mentioned as the moiety technique because he's just taking a mean average, because that's another way of doing it, because it's mean, it's median, and all of these combinations of what we're saying. Yeah. And you can't just look at a chart and well, maybe you can, and calculate it. You've really got to get your pen out and work out these calculations. I don't know of any software which will calculate it for you. Solify doesn't, and well, clearly Astro Gold doesn't, but you can definitely do it yourself, and it's easier to start with the sun going at 15. This episode is brought to you by New Moon Wishing, a self-care guidebook for wishful thinkers. Please see the link in the show notes.
Yeah. And software makers out there, if you are listening, please have a turn moiety on option.
Well, yeah.
That'd be great.
Who's going to step up and do that, right? Yeah. It's just not used much because you get wider aspects because of the sun. Yeah.
So speaking of that might be an interesting way to, because the widest orbs that I've seen used were probably by Richard Tarnas when he wrote Cosmos and Psyche.
Oh, yes.
And he is a famous, incredibly intellectually rigorous, mundane astrologer who has studied historical cycles back to like the dawn of time, practically.
Yeah.
And studying the outer planets, especially, from Jupiter on out. Jupiter Uranus is correlated with like times of positive change and revolutionary, blah, blah, blah. And, Saturn, Pluto aspects are, catastrophes and, fall of like revolutionary kind of blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he uses our orbs up to between 12 and 15 degree orbs for these incredibly broad sort of historical and sociological changes. So, this is something that I think would be really interesting applied to mundane astrology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's another way of looking at it that it doesn't pigeonhole you too much.
Yeah.
It's giving you a lot more leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when you've got these big, Pluto square Uranus and Pluto trine Uranus and what's going on, and those big synodic cycle beginnings and whatnot, you can go with that too.
Totally. Love it.
Because the influence is there, like we've got this Pluto trine Uranus at the moment. Yeah. It's a long drawn out aspect. It's background noise, and we definitely need to dig into these things a lot more in one of our episodes, I think, as well. Yeah. Yeah. So he's quite good with that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just want to say that personally, I find moiety to be pernickety. And I mean, I'm a good, strong Virgo here, but it really takes it out of you if you're going to do these calculations. So I only ever did it for my chart. I did it for my family, my children and whatnot. But in a regular consultation, I will not be considering moiety.
Yeah.
But I find it an interesting thing in astrology to think about and to explore and to say, well, this is why this is happening. Because you don't just have it natally. Yeah. You've got it cross chart.
Yeah.
So if you think, is he the one?
Ooh.
Yes, you see where we're going with this.
Yeah.
is he the one, which is always the question you get.
Right.
You can definitely then look into situations of, well, you seeing him, but he ain't seeing you,
my God.
right?
Yeah. Wow, interesting.
Yes. So, and of course, it applies to the points as well. Your ascendant, midheaven, your part of marriage, or whatever part of fortune. And you might be saying, well, I have this influence because my sun is 15 degrees. He's going to influence all of this area of the chart.
Yeah.
His planet's in there. Is he the one? Because I'm seeing this guy.
Right.
He doesn't know you exist because he can't see you through the moiety.
My God. That's so interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
there is
seeing it.
Yeah. And I do think it's a technique that can be used in your personal life, for your personal charts and so on. But in general, commercially, it's a huge thing. But the point being that what I'm saying is, just because I don't use it doesn't mean you shouldn't. The point is, I want you to know about it.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying here, there's a difference between not knowing a technique exists and making a conscious decision not to use it.
Oh, for sure.
So I'm just trying to be upfront about this. It's not something I would automatically do, but I would certainly discuss it and consider it and know about it and decide I haven't got time to do that.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you want to, as an astrologer, you want to decide, this is what's in my toolbox. And some things are not in there. I have other things not in my toolbox, such as I don't use the asteroids and I don't use Anticia, which we need to do a podcast about at some point.
Yeah.
But these are just things I'm totally aware of them. I understand how they work. I just don't bring them into my practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like saying, well, I'm going to a hairdresser, but I'm only cutting. I don't do color. You've got to know your strengths,
not
right?
everyone colors.
Or you go to a doctor and you want a dermatologist or you want a brain surgeon. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Not everybody does everything, but they're all aware of it, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. They're not going, well, brain surgery, that's not a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a thing. I just don't do it.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that this is what I don't want people to get the impression that I'm doing this all the time, but I'm certainly not. But what I'm saying is you do you. And if you explore moiety from here on in, or you're doing it already, and you think this is the answer to astrology, go deep, dig down, and make sure that you write the book about moiety.
Yeah.
Because we're waiting for it, aren't we, Arwen? We really are.
I didn't know I was waiting until today, but yeah.
There you go. That's a good one, yeah. So we've just been having another look at a couple of charts, and Arwen's got something to share with us.
Yeah, so I know we've talked about my partner, Roger, his chart a lot, but he is a Scorpio. Famously, and he's got Libra rising, which Libra and Scorpio are very, very different signs. Like if you think about the quintessential Libra and the quintessential Scorpio, they couldn't be more different. Maybe if you compare like a Cancer and a Leo, they're probably more different, or Pisces and Aries. Yeah. But Libra and Scorpio, pretty different. But yet he presents like a very cohesive whole. Like when you meet him, he's incredibly gregarious, incredibly inquisitive. He wants to know about you. He makes friends left and right. Everyone loves him. And he's got Scorpio at 2 degrees, the sun at 2 degrees Scorpio in his first house, conjunct Mercury at 8 degrees Scorpio. So those are obviously conjunct. He's also got Neptune at 16 degrees in the first house of Scorpio. So those are all, they're conjunct each other, but the sun is not conjunct Neptune. And what we're saying is with moiety, we wouldn't consider Neptune, but what we would consider is the fact that his ascendant is at 21 degrees Libra, which is not conjunct his sun traditionally.
Yes.
But by moiety, it would be, because now we're expanding the orbs of the sun, and all of a sudden his sun would actually be conjunct his ascendant.
So what's the difference between his ascendant and the sun?
Number-wise?
Yeah. Degrees, 11. Right?
Yeah, there you go. I'm like, I don't know. It's math. Come on.
Oh my God. So let's just start that again. So the ascendant is at 21. So that's
21.
9 degrees of Libra and then 2 of Scorpio. So that gives us
11 degrees.
11 degrees. So that means, therefore, the sun with its moiety orb of 15 can see the ascendant.
Yeah, and no one's going to be using 11-degree orbs usually.
No.
But with
moiety, it stands that the sun is conjunct the ascendant.
Yeah.
And how do we feel about saying his sun is conjoined his ascendant, even though the ascendant is Libra and the sun is Scorpio? I mean, I know the guy.
Right.
I would believe that.
100%. That's right. For me, that's what makes this such a great example, because
normally you wouldn't even consider it.
No, you'd think, oh, it's an out of sign, whatever. And it's kind of one of those weird things when since we use Placidus houses, you wouldn't even have this. If you use whole sign houses, you'd be like, wow, that's, not even because the ascendant wouldn't be, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that normally, as of an hour ago, he didn't have a sun conjunct ascendant.
That's what we're saying. Yeah.
What we're saying now is, but through moiety and the sun's wider orb of
Totally.
15,
Yeah.
because its presence is huge,
Yeah.
he absolutely has a sun conjoined the ascendant. And
Yeah.
clearly, on the day he was born, when it was 21 degrees on the ascendant at Libra, the sun, you would have seen the sun rising.
Absolutely.
His mother would have looked out the window and thought, thank God the dawn's coming. Let's get this over with.
Yeah.
And huffed and puffed, right?
Exactly. And it's even more appropriate for me just looking at this, because he's got that, it's a first house sun, which is already kind of more powerful by house placement. Absolutely. Of course it's going to be, I love that. That makes a lot of sense to me. That's fantastic.
So this is a one straight up example of looking at a chart, which is what we just did, looking at the sun, because that's got the widest orb, then it's easier to go there first at 15, and then finding that in Roger's case that the sun is with moiety actually is conjoined the ascendant, and we know the guy and we think and we can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because the sun is so influential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So you would also here's another example. So because we know that Mercury and Venus's orbs through moiety is 7 and not 8. Mm. If you have Venus conjoined Mercury on a regular 8-degree orb through moiety, they are not actually then conjoined. So because their orb is smaller, suddenly they don't have this important connection.
Yeah.
So I don't have any charts with that, but surely everyone can just dig through their charts and find anything. So you're looking at a conjunction between Mercury and Venus, and you're saying, how wide is it?
Yeah. And
if it's 8 degrees, and it's like, they're conjoined. Mm-hmm. Through moiety, they won't be, because they're not close enough.
Yeah.
For the influence to be blended in as they come together.
I feel like moiety is one of these things you can kind of apply when you feel it makes sense, and ignore it when it doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a very interesting another way of looking at charts. Yeah.
Amazing.
So if you click through the blog post, I do have some extend yourself sections, which is me saying, go and do this. And particularly with moiety, there's going to be two specific things you're going to look at. You're looking at the natal chart. And what you're going to do is list all the aspects in order of orb from tightest to widest. So you're going to go through all your aspects and list them by orb. So you want the tightest aspect first. And then you're going to find and list all the aspect combinations where moiety can come into play because of the planets that are involved. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to actually do this, rather than randomly looking at your chart. And then I'm going to say, choose one aspect with moiety, such as Arwen's sun, moon, and state which planet sees the other planet and which one does not. Well, I've got that one. My sun sees Mercury, but Mercury does not see the sun, right? So what am I saying? I run off at the mouth, And then for the extend yourself further through interpretations, and these are things that if you were in a class with me, this will be your homework. What I'm saying is discuss the meaning of the one-sidedness of an aspect with moiety. Yeah. And you need to give it some thought, because what do we want to say? The sun sees Mercury, Mercury doesn't see the sun. You need to explore that and say, well,
does this ring true in the chart that you're looking at?
Yes.
Is this something that is resonant and meaningful to you?
Yeah. And what does it mean? And dig deep and write it down and do the interpretation, because that's how you learn these things. You don't just,
it's not just like a mathematical anomaly. It's not 12 degrees versus 15 or, 8 degrees versus whatever. It's about the meaningfulness and the resonance of it. That's the whole point of astrology.
Yeah. So, it's a very interesting thing to know about. And if you're French, then you know how to say the word as well, which is total bonus. I think it's interesting. It's one of those, it's an advanced technique, but its aspects don't just come in one size.
Yeah.
It's not one size fits all. It's size does matter with aspects. So this is one way of looking at it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I've loved learning about this. This is great.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, so we've been looking at the advanced natal techniques of moiety, moiete, moietune, however you say it, and we've been talking about how size does matter depending on how big planets are. Their influence is larger, and this is another way of looking at aspects rather than just straight up saying it's 8 degrees.
Yeah.
So,
I love it.
and we've explored this. We've looked at a couple of aspects within my chart and Owen's, because we've got them right here, and also Roger. And we're urging you to go and look at your chart right this moment, dig it out, and see if you've got any aspects of moiety, because it's super interesting.
Yeah.
And as always with this podcast, we like to have conversations where we'd like to think that you're still thinking about it a week later, thinking, let me go and check that moiety again. Let me go and have a look at that chart.
Yeah.
Let me go and do something about it, because it's an interesting technique and I could certainly apply it, and I want to know about it, and I want to educate myself astrologically.
I love that. Yeah.
So that's really why we do these things. Yeah. So if you have found value in this episode, please do share it with anybody who'd be interested. Make sure that you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. Additionally, make sure you're getting Arwen's newsletter, and you can find Arwen at...
I'm at mspink.net, mspink.net, and I send out my weekly newsletter every Saturday.
Yeah. And super interesting it is too.
Thank you.
Yes. And please, if you've enjoyed this podcast, do give us a like, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Yes.
If you're listening on YouTube, then do give us a like, rate your comments there. We read every comment. We do appreciate your support. So, Arwen, thank you so much for joining me again to discuss moiety and be our little
guinea pig.
There, you said
fresh lamb.
Yeah, the lamb, not the lamb to the slaughter, but somebody,
the other lamb.
Yeah, exactly, a super lamb.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to our listeners, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the 2 main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.